Carl really heard everything. It's really tough to hear every little note that every little instrument's playing, but somehow he did.
The Beach Boys, I think, was a big influence on the harmony.
When people hear the name the Beach Boys, usually Brian Wilson or Mike Love are the first ones they remember. But there was another Wilson brother whose role was just as important in shaping the band's legendary sound, Carl Wilson. He was the quiet, steady genius who kept the group together during both their highest successes and their most difficult times. Carl Dean Wilson was born on December 21st, 1946, in Hawthorne, California. He was the youngest of the three Wilson brothers. His elder brother Brian was already known for his musical brilliance, while the middle brother Dennis carried the image of a wild and rebellious spirit. In contrast, Carl was calm, dependable, and eventually became the solid foundation that the band could always rely on. Carl's musical path started at a very young age. By the time he was just 12, he had already picked up the guitar and showed a natural talent that even impressed Brian. When the Beach Boys officially came together in 1961, Carl was only 14 years old, still just a teenager. Yet he played a key part in creating some of the most timeless pop songs ever recorded. At first, Carl's main role in the band was as the lead guitarist.
I think probably my partners are my greatest teachers.
But it didn't take long for everyone to realize that his gifts went far beyond just playing the instrument. He had a warm, rich voice that blended beautifully with the group's growing harmonies. While Brian focused on writing and arranging the music, Carl gave those ideas life through his flawless guitar playing and his increasingly important role as a vocalist. Now let's talk about Carl's guitar playing, because this is where his real brilliance showed. Carl Wilson wasn't simply strumming chords, he was shaping entire soundscapes. His guitar work on songs like Fun, Fun, Fun and I Get Around played a huge part in creating that bright, breezy California sound that defined the early 60s. He had an incredible gift for coming up with melodic riffs that were just as unforgettable as the band's vocals. Carl's true guitar genius became even clearer during the Pet Sounds era.
That sound, yeah. I just think it's a great song. Melodies, harmonies, it's a great song. I love it. It's my favorite Beach Boys song.
On songs like Wouldn't It Be Nice and Sloop John B, his guitar parts weren't just background support. They were key melodies woven right into Brian's intricate arrangements. Carl had a deep understanding that in the Beach Boys' music, every single instrument had to feel alive, almost like it was singing its own part. And then, of course, there was his voice. Carl Wilson had one of the most overlooked yet powerful voices in rock history. While Brian was known for his soaring high harmonies and Mike Love often took on the lead parts, it was Carl's voice that became the emotional heart of so many Beach Boys songs. His lead vocal on God Only Knows is pure magic, tender, vulnerable, and completely believable. When Carl sang, I May Not Always Love You, it felt genuine, as if he meant every single word. On Good Vibrations, his singing added an essential layer to the song's groundbreaking sound. And in more hidden gems like The Warmth of the Sun and Darlin, Carl's voice revealed a depth, maturity, and emotional weight far beyond his young years. As the 1960s went on and Brian Wilson slowly began pulling back from touring, and later from the band's daily work, Carl stepped up in a way that likely kept the Beach Boys from completely falling apart. When Brian stopped touring in 1964, it was Carl who took over as the band's musical director on the road. He made sure their live shows stayed strong and lived up to the high standard of their studio recordings. By 1967, during the troubled Smile sessions, Brian's perfectionism and declining mental health nearly tore the project apart. In the middle of all that chaos, Carl often became the voice of reason. He tried to balance Brian's grand artistic ideas with the reality of keeping the band together and moving forward. The late 1960s and early 1970s were tough years for the Beach Boys. With Brian stepping back, there was a huge creative gap, and the band found it hard to stay relevant as music styles around them kept changing. Through all of this, it was often Carl who kept things steady, both musically and emotionally, making sure the group didn't fall apart. Carl's role as a leader was really put to the test in 1970, when he faced a serious challenge related to the Vietnam War. As a conscientious objector, he refused to be drafted into the military, a choice that led to legal troubles and could have threatened his entire career. Even though his decision was controversial at the time, it revealed just how strong his character and beliefs were. In 1981, Carl stepped out on his own with the release of his solo album, Carl Wilson. The record leaned toward a more modern, R&B-inspired style, proving just how versatile he was as both a singer and a musician. Even though it didn't become a huge commercial hit, the album made one thing clear. Carl wasn't just the other Wilson brother, he was a complete artist in his own right. Through the 1980s and into the early 1990s, Carl remained the steady center of the Beach Boys. As the band went through lineup changes, courtroom battles, and the struggles of adapting to life as a legacy act, Carl's professionalism and unwavering musical integrity kept the group firmly grounded. People who knew Carl often said he was the kindest and most generous member of the Beach Boys. Unlike his brothers, who were sometimes known for their more unpredictable and fiery personalities, Carl stood out for his calm patience, his diplomatic way of handling situations, and his sincere care for both his fellow bandmates and the fans. Guitarist Jeff "Skunk" Baxter, who worked with the band, once remarked that Carl had an almost magical ability to make everything sound better simply by being there. Producers and engineers also spoke highly of him, often praising his professionalism and his sharp instinct for knowing exactly what would make a song work best. Carl's role in shaping the Beach Boys' sound cannot be emphasized enough. His guitar laid the foundation for countless classic songs. His voice carried some of the band's most moving and unforgettable moments. And his steady leadership kept the group alive during times when it easily could have fallen apart. Put on Pet Sounds, and you'll hear Carl's guitar flowing gracefully through every track.
He'd heard one of our albums and thought, I've got to do better. And that was Pet Sounds, which I love.
Listen to Surf's Up, and his voice provides the harmonies that give the song its depth. Watch or hear any Beach Boys concert from the 1970s or 1980s, and it's Carl's quiet strength and presence that hold everything together. Sadly, Carl's journey came to an end far too soon. In 1997, at only 51 years old, he passed away after a battle with lung cancer. His loss marked the close of an era for the Beach Boys, and took away from the music world one of its most overlooked, yet truly remarkable talents. Closing, Carl Wilson may never have been the most famous member of the Beach Boys, but in many ways, he was the most vital. In a group filled with bold and complex personalities, Carl was the calm presence, the musical conscience, and the brother who held everything together. His legacy is still alive in every Beach Boys song that stirs emotions, in every harmony that gives listeners chills, and in the reminder that the greatest contributions often come from those who work quietly, steadily, and with love. Carl Wilson, the quiet genius who helped craft the soundtrack of the American dream.